Let's see, this thing on. Seems to be working. Hello, internet, Facebook, dot hackers, mainly the dot hackers. For those who don't know me, at least those who are not on Facebook or on Discord, my name is, well, I like to go by Kiyaki. Of course, on my YouTube, I go by Kite Hacker. And those who know me on Facebook, the dot hack network, the dot hack network Facebook group, and you know me by my real name. It's pronounced Kari. And those in Discord, well, I go by Kiyaki. Anyway, so for those who know, I've been making dot hack playlist videos for my YouTube channel for about since, I don't know, 5 years now, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 5 years, starting with, dot hack link, and I started with dot hack link because that was the longest one, and I had just recently got the ability to play it, and I was so excited I wanted to do it. And then I went back and started doing the original 4 games, which I managed to finish and fully upload earlier this year and part of last year. And now I'm just about done with GU. When I'm going to get the dot hack versus, I don't have a fucking clue yet. At any rate, it is time of me doing this and uploading the video should be August 9th. So, in commemoration of Dot Hack Day, I wanted to kind of show off a little bit, introduce myself a little bit more to those who don't know me fully. Well, not fully, but a little bit more than usual. Basically that, and explain how I got into dot hack and why I wanted to do this. Let's see, Jesus Christ, I'm 30 now. I plan to do this for a while. But, yeah, I started when I was 11 years old. I was in the 6th grade, and I had a friend named Dakota. We went to the same school together, and he was talking about it. At first, I didn't really care too much because when it came to back when I was 11 years old, all I cared about was things like Pokemon, Power Rangers, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblade, etc. But when I heard my friend talking about it, he let me borrow the first game. And that was the first JRPG I had ever played. However, at first I didn't care or wasn't interested, but then, I don't know, I guess the more I heard him talk about it, the more interested I became, and so he let me borrow Dot Hack Infection. And that was the start of something. Slowly, I might add. At first, at first I was interested, but I didn't know how to play. It was my first ever JRPG, and I had no sense of direction or what to do. And I got my ass kicked a bunch of times. I forgot how many times I got killed by the first data bug. To the point where I gave it back to him by the end of the year, because even though I had fun with it, it felt like I couldn't go any further. But then 7th grade rolls around, I moved from New Jersey to North Carolina, and I'm thinking about what I want for Christmas. And the game popped up into my head again. I thought to myself, okay, maybe I can try again, and this time do it right. And so I made sure that my parents knew I wanted a game, as well as the strategy guide. Yes, I have all 4 games and all 4 strategy guides. I got the first game for Christmas, and then I got Dot Hack Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine, all the rest of the strategy guides in one package that following year. And I got Mutation and before spring break of the 7th grade. Yeah. And then I got Outbreak the 4th of July weekend of that same year, and I got Quarantine for my birthday. Yeah, I ended up getting all 4 games in the span of half a year, I'd say, about 7 months, give or take, so over half. And again, all 4 strategy guides. So this time I knew what I was doing because I had the strategy guide to help me. Granted, there were still a couple difficult areas. Like I remember getting my ass kicked to Innis, Gore, No, not Gory. Gory was the easiest, but I remember getting my ass kicked against Innis and Fidel. Yeah. Even with the strategy guy, because I just wasn't paying attention. I remember getting one hit KO'd by Magus as well the first time I fought him. But, Kite had the bracelet. He and Black Rose and Dot Hackers, they didn't fall into comas, so they were fine. I'd say, especially since they know them got data drained. But I managed to persevere and pull through, and it was fun. That's when I really started getting the dot hack, and I gotta say, that was the start of something. I'll probably say this later because I plan on doing reviews, video game reviews for my YouTube channel for the Dot Hack series as well as other video game series. But to say that Dot Hack helped me get through school, middle school, and high school is an understatement. It was one of the many things that helped shape me as a person for the better, I should say. But it really supported me when it came to my middle school and high school years. By the time I hit the 8th grade, I had beaten all 4 games, and at the same time, I had ordered the 3-part manga series of Dot Hack, Legend of the Twilight Bracelet. I do remember watching the anime Dot Hack Dusk, but it couldn't really keep my interest all that much. Especially since it's non-canon, so I didn't really care all that much. But the manga, that was also what introduced me, because my friend back in New Jersey, back when we were 11, he let me read his copies of the manga, and that also helped. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I was intrigued, and I was slowly getting it. And so I decided to get it again in the 8th grade and read all 3 issues at the start of the 8th grade, and it was awesome. And then again, I guess it would make more sense considering I played the 4 games before that. But that was the 8th grade. In the 9th grade, in between the 8th grade and 9th grade, that's when GU was coming out. And I remember when they announced GU and I first saw that trailer. I was shocked. I was intrigued and I was shocked. Like, oh my! I remember seeing Azure Kite for the first time. Like, what the hell? He's a zombie. And I liked Haseo from the beginning. I didn't know what his deal was, but I remember going to .hack.org, the official CC Corp site, for the first time, looking at the characters, and all you would see was Haseo and Azure Kite in the beginning, and that was it. CC Corp back then really knew how to play up the mystery. I wanted to know who these two were, and why Azure Kite, why this character looking like Kite, well, why he looked like him. And I remember all of the different theories that was going around the internet at that time, because we were all mystified. It was insane. But it was a damn fun time to be a Dot Hack fan at that point. And I remember finally getting the game, because it felt like forever. It felt like I was waiting forever to get it. You know that feeling when there's a game that you really want and you want it so bad that you can't wait and you're literally counting down the minutes of the hours of the days? Yeah, that's how it felt. But October rolled around in the 8th grade, and now I finally got it, and it was awesome. I could not put that game down. And then of course, GU Volume 2 Reminisce came out that next year in May, and it was just as much fun. Redemption was a little bit harder to get, but not too bad. I just had to wait a couple more days. But I was hooked on on those 3 games the entire time, and I loved it. I loved the whole thing. It was awesome being 14 at that time, because I had those games to help me out, especially when high school was not fun in the beginning. I hated my freshman year, but that's besides the point. That was awesome for me. And of course, what helped me out was the fact that I was a member of this fan site called the .hackers.net forum. I spent a lot of my time there, engaged in a lot of discussions and things like that from different players and people who knew more than me. And it was because of that, mainly because of that website, in that community, for better or for worse, there was a bit of toxicity there, but it didn't bother me too much. But yeah, it was because of that community that I was able to learn what I know now. And I mean, not to brag, but it feels like I almost haven't. I do know a lot about the series now. I don't know everything, obviously, but yeah, it was because of that community that I was able to learn that I know what I know now about the series. And it was fun. And of course, during that time, that's when I was also getting knee deep into the earlier installments of the series. Like, I remember when I was in the 11th grade, I was 16. That's when I started reading Dot Hack, AI Busters, and Another Birth. Because I was so intrigued at that point, I wanted to get as much information. I wanted to absorb all I could. And this was back when Dot Hack was still readily available, and not in this dormant state where it is now, where I was able to go to Barnes & Nobles and had Dot Hack, AI Busters, all the novels that were translated into English. They were available, so I got AI Busters and Another Birth, and I read them all throughout high school. I mean, they say that a lot of people now say it's better to have kids reading than playing video games, right? And you don't have to worry about that with me, because I was always buried in one of those books, either AI Busters or Another Birth. And I loved it. I loved learning about the earlier days of the world through AI Busters, learning about Alberio and Hokuto and Lycoris and that whole event, as well as seeing the Twilight incident from Black Rose's eyes and perspective, because it was so informative, and I just loved reading her point of view. It was like getting a more canon version of the incidents, and instead of, well, just dictating what happens because you're the player. I loved, I mean, who doesn't love Black Rose? I mean, Wendy Lee, I love you, but it was awesome. It was awesome. AI Busters, especially that first issue, because it was something different. It was interesting. And I think kind of meta for the time, because I remember one of the pages it listed a bunch of emojis or emoticons that the characters could do in the game, and they were written like with a / with a word, similar to what I'm sure a lot of us grew up with when it came to certain chat rooms and MMORPGs and things like that, before emojis became what they are now. We had to use certain keywords and things like that with a / to get things to happen. So it was a bit meta, but it was fun. Learning about the One Sin was interesting as well. Well, I have to say, Alberio's dedication to his job, as much as I liked it, looking back was a bit weird, but then again, you can say that for almost every employee with the world throughout its history. I mean, they have the history of Dot Hack. I mean, the World War I and the World War II. But I never liked the idea of being a stickler saying, it's just a game. Nah, I was engrossed in it, and I understood how Alberio felt at the time. But aside from that, it was fun. It was fun. So by the time I hit 17, I was a senior in high school, and I had pretty much read, I had gotten involved, I gotten every book that was installed into the series that was translated into English, and of course every game at that point. I mean, obviously there was some stuff that was in Japan, but considering I was a high school student with no income and no way of knowing how to even import that stuff over here, not to mention I didn't know a lick of Japanese, I was out of luck. Like, I remember learning about the information books like the Dot Hack GU Perfect Guidebook and Dot Hack Analysis and the encyclopedia, the Dot Hack Encyclopedia. All three I have now, of course, but back then I had no way how to get them. And so I was stuck to, if I knew any information from those books, it was because people who had them and knew what they were reading, they relayed the information to me. Like, just learning how the epitaph users worked and who they were as characters and things like that, etc. And of course, I believe Dot Hack Analysis. No, it was Dot Hack GU. It was the Dot Hack GU Perfect Guidebook that suggested that Zelkova did not have a real-life counterpart. And then, of course, those who played .hack GU last recode volume in its 4th volume reconnection, we now get confirmation for that. But back then, that was an air of mystery that captivated me as well as a lot of people. Frankly, I wasn't surprised to see that Zelkova was an AI. Spoilers, sorry. But I wasn't really surprised because if anything, he sure did have the typical appearance of an AI. Sort of. I mean, not to say that AI and the .hack series all look the same, but they did seem to have their own, I don't know, their own flair, I guess, their own way of dressing. I mean, look at not just Aura, because that's low-hanging fruit, but look at the AI rumor that was seen in .hack AI Busters Volume 2. I believe Reyna. That's who Reyna met. And of course, the AI Rin that was encountered by a former member of CG Corp's Cobalt Knights team back in R1. They all looked a certain way. Some obviously didn't look that way. I remember GU bringing on the concept of some AIs being so advanced, it was hard for you to distinguish them from regular players. Actually, Rumor was one of those AIs. Of course, that was back in R1. But the way Zelkova talked and the way he said things, I just said the same thing twice. But the way he said things and and how he showed that he knew a lot more than what he knew than what he said. He knew a lot more than what he was saying, and it was obvious to me. Like I'm not saying it was explicit, but I wasn't surprised to learn the truth after 15, 20 years. I mean, come on, who else knew how to work the Serpent of Lore besides Pai and Yada? I mean, Zelkova never stepped foot in the Serpent of Lore until the end, near the end of the Ida incident in Volume 3 Redemption, and he knew how to work the Serpent of Lore. I remember there was a suspicion that he was Helba, who decided to come back to the game somehow, to the world somehow, and I doubted that for an instant. I mean, yeah, Helba was the master of Net Slum, and Zelkova took that role somehow. But nah, I never really believed that. However, that did bring up the whole thing with a character named Spoke, who was apparently Helba's apprentice back in that bonus novel in the .hack archives called .hack Legacy that shows what happened after the Twilight incident. To basically explain what that was basically an event where Black Rose and Kite were on one last mission to get rid of one last data bug before Kite lost the bracelet for good. It's actually a cute little light novel. But apparently there was a character named Spoke who was a heavy blade and who was friends with Helba. I guess she was an apprentice of hers somehow. Who this character is, still don't know. And I'm not sure if there's any more information about her aside from what we learned about in the archives. But it was still fun. And Zelkova being an AI after all this time, not surprising. I mean, the dude had horns. No other character was able to end the world R2 has horns. I believe there's even rumors suggesting that he was illegally edited. So yeah, that guy. I'm not saying the writers of the games, they didn't hide the mystery. They didn't do good enough to hide his identity all that well. But it was obvious, at least to me. However, there were some people I remember saying they were willing to take it with a grain of salt, and I don't blame them. But to me, it was obvious. Aside from that, 17 years old, like I said, senior in high school, I was already more past knee deep with .hack, and I was making myself even more submerged. Just learning as much as I can about it. Every little detail that the game might have said or espoused on that went over my head because a lot did at that time. And then, of course, probably the biggest bombshell at the time, .hack Link comes out. It gets announced. with CC Corp suggesting that this is going to be the beginning of the end for .hack, and it was going out with a bang. A comment that, not to be a dick about it, but it hasn't really aged all right well, sort of. But I'm not going to blame CC Corp for that. I don't think it's their fault. But that's what they said back in 2010, and I remember being interested because I immediately liked the name. And before we get anything, the first thing they showed when it came to .hack Link was the manga. And I remember the first thing we saw was a picture of Kite. I'm thinking to myself, oh, Kite's come back? Cool, this will be interesting. He looks older now and more experienced. What made him want to come back? And then, of course, the bombshell explodes when they announce the game. And it's on the PSP, of all things. I gotta tell you, I did not see that coming. I'm not sure a lot of people did. I think I know one who probably claimed that he did, but like my friend Akoto. But I, as well as a bunch of others, were not anticipating that, but we were still intrigued. Frankly, I think the only thing we cared about was whether or not it'd come out in English. Even though it was still shocking at the time because the PS3 had just came out and it was starting to become more affordable slowly. And we all thought it would be common sense for, the next big .hack game to be on the PS3. Nope, the PSP. And again, the PSP was the main console at the time. It was relevant, and a lot of people had them. Unfortunately, I didn't, so I was a bit bothered by that, but I didn't want to let it stop me. However, and again, the bombshell was exploding at this time, and the biggest thing that caught all of us off guard was the fact that it was not coming to America. It was quickly confirmed that it was going to stay in Japan, and that shocked a lot of us. And I'm not sure, I can't really remember too much about the temperature of the community at that time when that was confirmed, but I don't think a lot of us are happy. Because a lot of us were just waiting. But that due date for North America never came. Which, honestly, to this day still sucks. Make matters worse, and then we started to learn more about the game, about this character named Tokyo who looked nothing like Haseo, Kite, or Tsukasa. He didn't even look cool to us back then. In fact, he looked like a ripoff of Tai from Digimon, with the hair and the goggles and everything. A lot of us are thinking, who the hell is this dude? And then we're learning that he gets physically transported into the World RX. Like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? What is this, the Matrix? Are we literally playing Digimon? Or is this literally Digimon now? What the hell? This makes no damn sense. Yeah, we were all... That was like strike 3 for a lot of us. I remember even reading a thread on the .hackers.net forums titled, "What did the .hack fans do to deserve this?" Because it was a shock. It felt like such a departure from the norm that we were all used to. I mean, back then, we were fine with characters falling into comas. Because sometimes, a bit of a spoiler, oftentimes their consciousness will be trapped in the game. Sometimes attached to the character, sometimes just kind of dispersed into nothing. And if you were like Tsukasa, your consciousness will attach to your character. Or like what happened during the first Ida server incident in Reminisce. That was fine with us. That we were all able to jive with that. But then now you're gonna tell me someone is literally physically in the game. Now that's just something that's a bit weird. At least that's what it felt like back then. That's what it felt like back then. And a lot of us were pissed. A lot of us were willing to write off the game, saying, oh, for me, .hack ended after .hack GU. Yeah, we were all kind of divided on the whole thing. And then I learned that pretty much every single character that was ever present in every single event in .hack was coming back in the form of AIs, and you get this hacker group named Shixo and all. The more information that started to come out the woodwork, we became more intrigued. Some of us, a lot of us were willing to give the game a chance, and a lot of us were excited. However, some of us, we were sort of on the fence, and some of us were just going to write it off. Because if the game wasn't coming to America, then there was no point in playing it. As if CC Corp decided to just say nuts to the Western crowd, but it's going to focus on our side. Which, to be honest, sometimes Japan can be like that. It always annoys me. As for me, though, the more information that came out, and when the game finally released, and slowly starting seeing YouTube videos on it, because back then that was kind of hard to do that, the more intrigued I became. However, this is when I was in between high school and early college, when I had no money, no way of knowing how to get a PSP, and again, no way of knowing how to even import a game from another country. I mean, if I did know how to do that, I had no money to do so. So I was up shit's creek without a paddle. And then, of course, I just said then twice, we finally get a fan project. As we all know, the fan project comes out to try to translate the game into English to the best of our ability. And thank God for that. Because if that weren't the case, I'm not sure I would have been able to do what I did with .hack Link since 2018. Especially since I remember there was a US campaign to try to get Link over to the US that the members of the .hackers.net forums did try to do, and Bandai did take notice. Unfortunately, they chose not to anyway. And that still bites. It still sucks. Don't get me wrong though, I am more than grateful that we had a group of dedicated fans who were willing to translate the game into English and make it available for us, either through emulation or through jailbreaking the PSP, which was something that I learned was actually really easy to do. But still though, sometimes I do wish that Bandai had officially decided to translate the game. But at least we have it. And I was happy because this was back in between 2018, when I was finally able to buy a used PSP from my friend Katie. Love you, Katie. Able to buy it off of her because she was finally done with Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep and was willing to sell it to me. And through learning how to jailbreak it and going through the steps I needed to get the game myself, I was finally able to play it. I tried playing on my computer through emulation. I was able to get that to work, but wasn't able to get too far into it before I lost interest. But now that I had it on the actual PSP, I was finally able to get fully engaged, and I gotta say, it was an interesting experience. At that point, I didn't have any reservations for the game because I just wanted to play it. And from 2018 all the way to 2020, yes, it took me 2 years because, and you'll see later on, if you haven't seen my playlist for .hack Link, you should if you haven't. .hack Link is a long as hell game. It's extremely long, and I think that's one reason why Namco Bandai decided not to bring it over here. Because it's that long of a game. It's insanely long. I've never seen a game played it. I never played a game that long before, and I've played Assassin's Creed Valhalla 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. And that's a game that has gotten 2 full years worth of content. Finally finished that one. Jesus Christ. Finally finished that one. I uploaded all the videos to my YouTube channel, and that took longer than I would have preferred, but it's done. But with .hack Link, yeah, it's insanely long. It's insanely long. But I enjoyed every minute of it. The combat grew on me rather quickly. Yes, the game is repetitive, but I didn't find it too bad. I found it was a good game to play when on long car trips or in restaurants. It was just, I felt like I was in middle school or high school again, getting engaged with another .hack game that I've always wanted to play, and it was fun. I liked Tokyo. He was a bit of a goofball, but he had a good heart. I mean, I think there's the reason why they wanted to make him like that was because he was supposed to emulate a more realistic video gamer who was in high school. I mean, the dude was 14, good at video games, and when he learned of the situation, instead of being shocked about it or worried or whatever, like maybe how Kaiden or Haseo might have been, no, he gets excited. Like, yeah, I'm in a video game. I'm the hero of my story. Like, what 14-year-old gamer wouldn't be like that? I'd probably be excited too. And learning more about him as the game progresses, this guy is someone you should actually take seriously. At least that's my thoughts on him. I mean, back then when I was 17, I didn't really care two shits about him, but I realize how wrong I was now. This kid's strong when he needs to be. He grew you see him grow as the game progresses. And he gets strong, and he has a good heart just like Kite. And a bit of his own badassness and seriousness and determination just like Haseo. And even Tsukasa. And we see how he helps all of the AIs of the Twilight Knights work together to save Aura, because that's something what he wants to do. He wants to help Aura, not just because he sees himself as a hero of the story, but he wants to help her because it's the right thing to do. But it's not just Aura he wants to help. He also wants to help Aika as well as Saika. Yes, Aika, the Ida, and Saika Amagi. And he didn't even care that Aika wasn't Ida, because this is back when Tokyo was learning what Ida was, and learning that Aika was an Ida as well, it didn't bother him. Because he didn't see her like the rest of the aggressive AIs that were plaguing the World War II at that time, back in 2017. He saw Aika as someone different. And that was kind of heartwarming to see, not to mention him getting closer to Saika despite all the verbal and physical abuse she did. Saika, I don't know why the writers of .hack Link wanted to work with the tsundere archetype, all that character archetype that much. But work with Saika, I guess, as well as the defrosting Ice Queen motif, which is by no means unique, but fine, it works. I mean, Saika, I never saw as a bad character either, but why she felt the need to abuse him in the beginning, I don't know. But I guess back then she didn't care about him. She just wanted him to do what she needed him to do so she can get her brother back. The electrocution though, I don't know, but I'm getting ahead of myself and I don't want to spoil too much because I still plan on reviewing all the games rather soon. Not sure when, but I plan on doing that. I just gotta start writing scripts for it and everything. Regardless though, playing .hack Link to its completion, I'm talking about 100% completion. Not just to the credits, but post-credit as well to get the secret ending. I had to do that twice for my YouTube channel. Don't ask me why. But it was a fun experience. Because doing so, it helped me, for one thing, learn video editing, as well as how to make a YouTube channel, which I find really fun to do. Regardless of how it is. Regardless of the condition that it's in. But between Assassin's Creed and .hack, it helped me get better at something I never realized how much fun it would be. And I genuinely like doing it. And .hack, like I said, it not only did it just help me grow as a person, it helped me get through my middle school and high school years, but it helped me become a better gamer, because I was already playing a lot of video games then, but there were more simple games like from Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Jak and Daxter, my favorite series ever. But it just helped me have more interest in video games in general. Not only that, but it introduced me to the concept of massive multiplayer online RPGs or MMORPGs. because aside from dot hack being an imitation of an MMORPG, it helped me basically expose me to what those kinds of games were. Like that time I was playing RuneScape, if you if you guys remember that game, alongside dot hack, and then eventually I went to Ragnarok Online, which I'm still playing. So yeah, dot hack was the reason for all of that, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. Like, I want to express how much I love dot hack and how it positively affected me as a person. To be honest, it still affects me in a positive way. Because given how much I know about it, I find myself ruminating and obsessing about all the information I've learned over the past decade and a half at this point. Over the past 15 years. Just by myself in my head, just I guess it's almost a form of studying to make sure that I still know what I'm talking about and things like that. And I remember helping some other people out who may be new to the series or just may not know as much, because I can't help it, but I'm a little bit obsessed even now after all these years. It's crazy, yes, I know, but I can't help it. When it comes to something that I love, I am trying to consume as much as I can. I'm weird like that, but hey, what do you expect from us nerds? Point is, dot hack has always been there for me and has always been fun. And I still love the series to this day. Now, if only Namco Bandai would allow CC Corp to finish this series. Because yes, I am so damn happy that we have dot hack GU last recode. I still remember when they announced that game, I damn near had an aneurysm and a heart attack at the same time because I was so excited. I was screaming. To be honest, it still feels like a dream because I still can't believe that's happened. And we all know that we want them to do this, give the first 4 games the same treatment. CC Corp knows it too, and even Namco Bandai. And they just want more. They just want enough of a fan outcry to make it happen. Well, Namco Bandai, if you're listening, consider this enough of a reason to do it. Please. Just please do it. A remaster or even just a damn port to the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 and to Steam. Just even in the Nintendo Switch now. Just do it. Please. Just do it. And also give CC Corp the ability to finish the series, because it's ever since Thanatos report, the series has been on a hiatus. Yeah, we got last recode and with the 4th volume Reconnection, but that didn't really progress the series all that much. Reconnection was just an in-between installment. We want the game to continue, and personally, I want the game to continue and come to its conclusion, because this cliffhanger brought on by Thanatos report still continues to kill me. And I don't like it. So please, Bandai, let us have this. Sorry. I'm done with my rant. Point is, I love dot hack, and I always have. It's one of my favorite series ever. And it's a shame. It's kind of a shame that it hasn't gotten as popular as Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. But did it really need to be? It still has a good fan base. It may be a little bit more niche, but come on. Not every game needs to be as big as other series in order for it to be successful. There's nothing wrong with being niche, because it still has a lot of love from a lot of fans. And that's what it matters the most, right? At any rate, guys, thanks for watching. I know this is probably a bit weird. My first time doing a video like this, and sorry for the weird audio quality. Still figuring out this new mic that I had gotten a couple months back. But like I said, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm glad that I've finally been able to. And like I said, later on, I'm going to be, considering I've really been wanting to do this for a while, making reviews of all 4 games, as well as GU and dot hack Link. And somewhere along the line, I will be getting to dot hack Versus and making videos of that as well. I'm not sure when, but I'll probably get to it. I'm just glad that I'm able to play that game as well, because I was able to buy the actual Japanese version, and thanks to some people at a part of the dot hack network community who were able to make a fan translation of the ROM and make it playable on emulator. So yeah, I'm not sure when, but I'll get to it as soon as I can. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.